People that have restarted in a new city, what are your tips? Nobody knows you, so you can try to change some habits. I was too shy to talk to people and usually just waited for them to approach me. But when I moved I started talking to people first. It was hard, but I'm glad I tried. Changed my eating habits too. Think what kind of a person you wanna be and just try it. See how close you can get. The one thing that really surprised me was the fact that I didn't love the new city immediately. It was bigger than I was used to, more expensive, and the job had such higher expectations than my last. Same exact job. It all took some getting used to, and that took longer than I thought it would. But I loved exploring little hills and out of the way parks. And one day it hit me like a ton of bricks. I was so in love with this new place I couldn't imagine ever living anywhere else. Well, of course, now I do. But my love affair lasted a long time. But I think it's a place for younger people. A place to explore and find your way around the city and find yourself. Others have made some really good suggestions. But I think I had to be more comfortable with me before I could be comfortable in a new place. This is so true. When I moved to a city I'd been dreaming of living in years, I felt the same. It was so big, expensive. People seemed grumpy. Why did I ever want to live here? But I gave it time and now I like it. So much of moving is about having patience to sit through the rough transition period. To be fair, some places just aren't compatible with the lifestyle you want. I had trouble making friends in a very family-oriented town I basically hated. And when I moved to a bigger city with more people, I instantly made friends and found awesome stuff to do. Still love it 6 years later. Try to find some kind of social group that pertains to your interests. It's easier in college. That's what I did, and there were plenty to choose from. But there are often plenty of groups for non-students if you look around on social media for advertising and stuff. Things like volunteer work or local activist type groups can be easier options to look for. That's how I started making friends. Agreed. I moved to a new city last year and I had no friends. Then I entered in a taekwondo class and now I have some friends from there. I started climbing because the only person I knew in my new city was climbing. Now I have friends and I'm obsessed about climbing. Trivia bars or activity night style bars. As much as you might hate it, some of them will be like, hey, we need a team over here, any individuals, and help you guys join almost like a project in school. Keep coming back to the bars and you'll either make friends with the team trivia members or the people who hosted bartenders. Find places you like and return to it, and eventually you'll meet regulars there who will recognize you. It's gonna take a bit of time. I did rec sports. Leagues usually allow for free agents to sign up. This is how I made nearly all my friends. I joined a few rec leagues that are geared towards meeting new people and have social aspects after the games, like going to a bar. Did them 4 years. Met my fiance through a dodgeball league. Get to know your immediate neighborhood. My family and I moved last year from the US South to the PNW. I went through a period of feeling very homesick and disconnected to my surroundings. I changed my mood by really making my neighborhood my own. I started talking and becoming friendly with the people nearby that I come into contact with on a regular basis, like my pharmacist, barista, crossing guard, etc. I get out every day and go run in my local park, and it helps me to feel connected to where I'm at. I try to look around and remind myself that this is my home. I think this all sounds goofy, but it helped a lot. This works though. I have this favorite gas station that I routinely visit, and the cashier always asks me, "You gonna win today?" Because I always buy a scratch off or 2 LOL. When I saw construction starting around the corner I got very defensive of my neighborhood, even though I lived a couple blocks over. Whether this sounds goofy or not, humans build relationships through interactions. Try to be a yes person for the first 6-8 weeks. Anytime someone asks you to do something or go somewhere within safety and financial reasons, say yes. Even if you don't really care for that activity or type of food or whatever, say yes and go. It will help you meet people outside of your immediate circle. And once you have seen people socially a couple of times, You can figure out who you are interested in spending more time with, and asking them to hang out is less awkward. Just remember, every event isn't going to be the most fun you ever had. It's okay to have just a nice time, because that's laying the groundwork for those really fun nights. Ita, thanks for the silver award. It's my first, and very exciting. Also, I'm someone who has moved countries 4 times, the latest being during the pandemic. The limited options for hanging out made it really difficult to settle in like I normally would, and that's why I stand by this advice. Now that things are slowly becoming less limited, I've enjoyed myself a lot more now. I started over in a new city in 2019. If possible, visit the city first. I saved myself a lot of grief by visiting first and knowing the general area. If you can't visit, check out Google Maps. Find a job before you move if possible. I found a job with a chain that had a location in the new city. I didn't need to be retrained, so that was one less thing to stress about. The job was the same. I set it up, so I had 2 weeks before I had to start, so I could unpack and get settled. When you pack, get rid of a bunch of stuff. Have the essentials, like a change of clothes, toiletries, small appliances, and food ready to unpack the first day you arrive. You will be so tired and not want to dig for stuff. Bring a small pack of toilet paper and hand soap for the new place. Try to have at least a pot and a pan, some rubber scrapers, and plates if you can. I'd also pack blankets someplace easy to get out, so you can just curl up and sleep if you need. Moving is stressful, so you want all the stuff you need easy to get to before you unpack entirely. Locate the grocery store. Also find some local restaurants for those first few days. Don't forget to set up your utilities the first day. That's a must. Find a club if you didn't move with a buddy. Get out your first weekend and go see the sights. Get used to your new environment. The first few weeks just kinda suck, so try to get some good stuff in there if you can. Try to find a club or 2 or activities hobbies before you move. Something to look forward to, and one less thing to stress about. When you first get there, pick a landmark that's visible from most of the city or your neighborhood. A building, monument, etc. When you're learning to navigate that first month or 2, that will help you. Make sure you can get home from and get to the landmark. That way, if you ever get lost, just head toward it and then you can get home. Eliminate some panic and stress. This was one of the most helpful things I did when I moved. Edit awards. Thank you. I'm glad my advice is helpful to people. Moving, even to some place you really want to go, is stressful. Anything to make it better is great in my book. On your last point about navigating, take the time to get to know your way around the city. Just walk around the neighborhoods. Get a basic idea of the layout of the place. I have a housemate who has lived in our city for 3 years and still can't get around without a struggle. Normally not a problem with the invention of Google Maps, but it gets tiresome and honestly kind of embarrassing after this long. I relocated from North America to Ho Chi Minh City, Vietnam to start a business 9 years ago. So, maybe a bit more extreme than intended by the question. Well, here goes anyway. 1. Get your finances in order before moving. Work out short-term housing before committing to long-term housing. 2. Integrate. 3. Stay out of trouble, do your paperwork, and abide by the law. 4. Read up on the ways immigrants are vulnerable in your home country. Be prepared to face the same challenges regardless of how good you are at 2 and 3. 5. Choose your friends carefully, better to have fewer friends than the wrong friends. Maybe do some volunteer work to meet positive, productive people. All boring, basic stuff. Relocating within Vietnam is pretty much the same procedure. I have moved many times. I know that I will hate my new environment for about 3 weeks, so I plan for that. I stock up on food I will enjoy, have something I like to drink, and arrange for entertainment, books, music, TV, whatever you enjoy. After 3 weeks I start to feel more comfortable and do lots of the following. I always find the library closest to home and get a card right away. Get a map and learn your way around the city. Explore. Read the local newspaper. Even a throwaway one. Find the rummage sales, antique or car shows, free concerts, food fairs, etc. This is tougher during the pandemic, but will pay off in the long run. Pursue hobbies or start a new one. This should connect you with some like-minded people. Take a class, perhaps pertaining to your hobby. Join a professional organization or some other organizations that pertain to your interests. For example, church groups, book clubs, music venues, science lectures, etc. Find what the new city is known for and join in. If it's art, go to the art shows. If it's roses, then learn where to see them, etc. As you learn your way around, invite others to join you. Even if it's just a trip to the farmer's market, a stroll through a park, or shopping for wine. When you invite someone, they are more likely to reciprocate. Be generous with your smile, encouraging words, a friendly demeanor. I've moved a lot too, and I would also add that I only start to feel settled in after about 6 months. Totally have the 3 weeks of hating it, and you'll still have times when you are so unbearably homesick. Keep in touch with your old friends periodically if you aren't trying to cut ties, and don't go back to visit for at least 4 months. Enjoy the relationships you made and throw yourself into figuring out the new place. You made friends before. You can do it again. Promise. I feel the same way about moving in general. I've moved to new cities about 6 times now and moved houses around 15 times in the past 10 years. I hate it for the first 6 months. It takes around that time to figure out the feel of the house city and get comfortable. There are so many little things you forget once you settle in, and they always come rushing back when you move. If you can, move with at least 3 months rent bills expenses saved. If you're not going right into a job, you're going to want that extra cash. If you haven't picked a place to live and don't know anyone, walk around different neighborhoods you're considering before you move, or aim for a short-term lease to begin with. Don't get attached to the physical address of the place you call home. Get attached to smaller things inside your home, like a pillow that has traveled around with you, or a coffee cup that you painted. Over the years, a reverse trend will happen, which in my opinion is more meaningful. You will remember where you painted the cup and where you bought the pillow. So in a way you remember all the good stuff, both the address and associated events. I never realized how many little things I got through 3 cities I lived in. Like the blanket from my mother I got before undergraduate, or my favorite frying pan from undergraduate years in the dorm. And now the pillow I got during graduate in another city. But the most lovely thing is the sound the inner door in my mother's home makes when I close it. Nothing feels more like home than this little thud. Have a poor man's gold, stranger, for bringing up these feels. If you're moving to a new country, learn the language. I can't tell you how much of a difference it makes. Even if you can communicate with people in your language, another mutual language, speaking to someone in their mother tongue makes the person feel more comfortable and more willing to open up to you. There's also the added benefit of meeting friends in your language school, if you choose to go that route. Don't try to change the city you now live in into the city you just left. Do not start a relationship with someone who you met on Tinder because you didn't want to be alone in a new city, and then let the relationship spin out of control and turn out that she's kinda insane and very manipulative, and then your first 9 months in London are shit, and now a whole borough of London is ruined for you by memories of an abusive ex. Also, find a coffee shop you like that opens late. Nothing like getting some work done while drinking coffee on a rainy night. Moved around a few times. Different cities. Different countries. Few tips. Join stuff you're into: sports, drama, drinking club, whatever. Get to meet people with similar interests and get a base in the city. There's likely a meeting group for people from where you're from, or at least a sports bar that shows your country's team's games. Even if you've no interest in the sport, there'll be others there same as you. Join stuff you want to be into but didn't for whatever reason. You'll have the time, and who's going to know you here? Get a job with food delivery place, like Uber Eats, even part-time. You get to know the city and the best food. Rent a place short-term, couple months until you get to know what part of the city you want to live. Lovely new apps tend to be in boring places. Get your public transport pass, the schedules, any apps for the city, emergency numbers, learn the big traffic times. You're moving to live. It's not a holiday, so enjoy your first couple of weeks, but watch your money. Ride a bicycle every chance you get. Explore on that bike. And go everywhere. It's amazing how quickly you'll feel at home knowing every nook and cranny, every secret, and seeing up close and personal the details you miss while driving.